Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Emory Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Bring you our 2013 NFL Draft Prospect Rankings preview video. We're taking a look at the cornerback position. We're going to look at the top prospects, some small school prospects, and some sleepers that you want to keep an eye on.
D. Milliner out of Alabama is my #1 rated cornerback in this draft. You look at what he possessed: great body control, got ball skills, and has good football awareness. Now, his footwork is a little bit inconsistent, and that can cause him to reach and grab a little bit, which could be a penalty at the next level. But if he can clean that up, this guy definitely has top 15 type of talent. David Amerson out of North Carolina State is one of my favorite prospects in this draft. This guy has excellent ball skills, outstanding instincts, and is very versatile. He may end up as a free safety at the next level. Now, his weaknesses are he has no interest in tackling at all, so don't ask him to be a tackler. And he also takes poor angles to the football, which could cause him to get beat a lot of times. But overall, this guy is a tremendous prospect. Reminds me a lot of Charles Woodson and what he brings to the table. Not the fastest guy, but some way, somehow, always around the football. When you look at Xavier Rhodes out of Florida State, the first thing that catches your attention is how physical he is, and that's one of his strengths. He's very physical, he uses his hands very well, and he excels in press coverage. Now, he's not the quickest guy, and his recovery speed is not where you want it to be, and he does have a little bit of a nagging injury history, but overall, this is a fine prospect that could fit in a great system like the Baltimore Ravens or like the Pittsburgh Steelers or like the Chicago Bears. I think he has that type of talent. He's one of my favorite prospects as well in this draft. Jordan Poyer out of Oregon State reminds me so much of Cortland Finnegan that plays for the St. Louis Rams. You look at a guy that's very versatile. He can line up in the slot, the field side, the boundary side. This guy has very good hips as well, so he can get in and out of his breaks easily. It's very active. When I'm talking about active, I'm talking about a guy that's in the mix in the running game and also mixing it up with wide receivers at the line of scrimmage. Now, he tends to get handsy, which means he tends to use his hands a lot on a wide receiver, and that's going to get a lot of penalties at the next level. So that's a bad habit that he's going to have to break in the league. Jonathan Banks out of Mississippi State is a sure tackler, excellent blitzer, and has tremendous ball skills. Now, the negatives are he's not as good as pressing the wide receiver. He tends to play off a lot, and he's susceptible to those out-breaking routes, and that's due to poor technique. He's going to have to improve his technique with his footwork, trust his feet, trust his hands in order to be a complete corner at the next level. Desmond Trufant out of Washington is a guy that anticipates very well for a corner and plays the game with great quickness, and that's going to get you in a lot of plays. Now, what could get you out of a lot of plays if you get caught looking in the backfield, and that's something that he does routinely. He's going to have to break that habit at the next level. His footwork can get sloppy, but this is a guy that still carries a second-round grade. I'm a big Leon McFadden fan. Reminds me a lot of Ray Buchanan that played for the Indianapolis Colts and the Atlanta Falcons. Now, he has excellent footwork. His read and recognition skills are top-notch, and he has solid hands, always making plays on the ball. He tends to get high in his back pedal, and that can cause him to be susceptible to double moves. That's something that he's going to have to work on. As technique-wise, like I said before, can get coached out of you at the next level. Logan Ryan out of Rutgers is a guy that plays with that same type of activity that you see out of Jordan Poyer. Great burst, not afraid of contact, and definitely has outstanding technique, but he can get pushed around a little bit, so he's going to have to get stronger at the next level to handle those bigger wide receivers. Jamar Taylor out of Boise State is another solid corner coming out of that program. He's a physical player, solid tackler, and probably is your ideal cover 2 corner, and also has great body control. Now, his change of direction skills are decent and not elite, and doesn't have that long speed, so that's why I said he's an ideal cover 2 corner. Put him in his own scheme, and he can definitely make a lot of plays. Will Davis out of Utah State is a guy that's aggressive. He's solid in press coverage, does a good job of getting his hands on a receiver. More of a cover 2 corner in my opinion, because he doesn't have those good hips to turn and run, and tends to bite on double moves, and it shows that he doesn't have that breakaway speed, that long speed that you want, but does have some outstanding return ability. So you may see this guy as a returner as well at the next level. Melbourne White out of Louisiana is a guy that's 6'2", 200 pounds, does a great job with making plays that are in front of him. Doesn't turn and change direction very well, which is why he's probably better off as an off corner. Reminds me a lot of Ike Taylor when he came out of Louisiana. So keep an eye on this guy as a guy you can get in the 3rd round, graded out as a 3rd round prospect, but definitely has that upside and could be a steal for some team in the middle parts of the draft. Some may argue that Darius Slay is a better prospect than Jonathan Banks, his teammate, and when you have someone of the caliber of Banks lining up on the other side of you, you're going to get a lot of action. You're going to have to make those plays. That's why I like Slay a lot. He made those plays for Mississippi State, a guy that definitely took advantage of the opportunity. Barrow Simon out of LSU is a big corner, 6'2", 208, has some solid matchup skills. Now, turning and running, that's a whole nother story. Now, he came into the draft early. He's a junior. Probably should have stayed another year, got a little bit more coaching, but at least he's going to come out, has the size that you want, also has the ability to high point of football. Now, here are some other cornerback prospects that also carry Football Game Plan third-round grades. Brandon Smith and Brandon McGee are two guys that caught my attention down at the East-West Shrine Game. Both competed very well and should see their draft stock rise come April. Nikhil Roby out of USC, 5'8", 175, not the biggest, but definitely can play some ball, has the outstanding cornerback instincts that you want. Probably is going to have to get bigger to handle those receivers at the next level. Otherwise, he's going to see himself pigeonholed as just a nickel corner. B.W. Webb out of William & Mary is another guy that had an outstanding week down there in Mobile at the Senior Bowl. He also has the return ability, but he's a little bit more active in the running game and also is an outstanding special teamer. Dak Swanson out of Sam Houston State was a productive performer for the Bearcats throughout the course of his career. Now, moving on to the next level, he's going to have to trust his technique more in order to be effective and in order to stick on a roster. I'm a big fan of Jamal Rhodes' game. Now, he's 5'11", 190 pounds, coming out of Catawba. This guy has excellent ball skills and has those fluid hips that you want out of the cornerback position and is not afraid to mix it up at the line of scrimmage with wide receivers. Demetrius McCray out of Appalachian State is a guy that has good size and faced the team's #1 receiver every game at App State and was able to compete at a high level, so he's battle tested, and I think he'll do fine at the next level. Keep an eye on Tyrann Mathieu out of LSU. This guy is an underrated open field tackler, elite ball skills and instincts, and also is an excellent blitzer coming off the edge. So a defensive coordinator can get creative with him in their secondary, but he can get big boyed at the line of scrimmage by bigger wide receivers. That's something that he's going to have to improve on, his strength, but there's no doubting his competitiveness. This guy can play 3 positions in the secondary: corner, free safety, strong safety. That's why I've given him a first-round grade. You don't get that type of versatility every day, in my opinion. Two guys out of UCLA are sleepers, in my opinion. You look at the first young man, Sheldon Price, 6'2", 178. Despite his size, this guy is very physical with wide receivers. I saw that at the East-West Shrine Game. And his compadre, Aaron Hesser, 6'1", 203, a bigger guy, also has that same type of physicality. I think both guys will fly under the radar but end up as starters at the next level. And I'm a big fan of Xavier Brewer out of Clemson. This guy reminds me a lot of Johnny Adams that plays for Michigan State. Always around the football and always making plays. Keep an eye on him as a guy that has potential to start down the line. Despite not having the year that he expected to have coming into this campaign, I still think Rod Sweeting is an outstanding prospect, was Sun Bowl MVP, and also is an outstanding special teamer. And we know how long you can last in the league if you can play some great special teams. And speaking of outstanding special teamers, keep an eye on Greg Reed. That's going to be his main ticket into the National Football League, and his ability to stick will be how well he can do on special teams. He started as a freshman at Florida State, fell out of favor, got hurt, transferred down to Valdosta State. They're going to have to really get those questions answered about him in the pre-draft process to see if he's worth the draft selection. And you want to keep it locked in here to Football Game Plan throughout the course of draft season, as our senior draft analyst Chris James does a great job breaking down the prospects on his radio show every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time at blogtalkradio.com/footballgameplan. And you can also follow him on Twitter at CJ Florida 9.